So the big trade that went down was Chris Paul going over to the Houston Rockets for Decker, Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, and a first-round draft pick. This was probably one of the biggest trades so far in the NBA offseason, and in my opinion, I think that the Clippers won this trade. Everyone knew that once free agency hit, Chris Paul was going to opt out of his contract and look to go elsewhere. He was obviously interested in the Rockets, also Denver, and a couple other situations, but everyone knew he was going to leave. And the Houston Rockets were definitely one of his destinations. So the Clippers knew he was going to leave. They knew they didn't want to rebuild their team around him, and they knew they couldn't keep winning, especially with that super team out west in Golden State. So they decided to say, we're not going to get anything for him if he leaves and walks in free agency. So why not trade him to a team that he wants to go to in Houston, and that a team that wants him. Let's trade them to that team, and then let's get something in return for him before he walks and we lose him for nothing. So they went out and got a young player in Decker, a 6-man in Lou Williams, and the team is looking pretty good for Clippers right now if they want to rebuild this team, which I feel like they probably will if they do let Blake Griffin walk in free agency. But the big thing is, how can this team run in Houston? How can a team fill the dominant player with James Harden that basically needs the ball in his hands? And it showed that he worked perfectly in a system where he was the main guy, he was the point guard, and he ran the offense through him. Now you had a guy like Chris Paul that has a very, very similar game to James Harden, both dominant guys that need the ball. I don't know how this works. It's not like Chris Paul is a Steph Curry that can go out and kind of play the shooting guard position, can shoot the three ball from anywhere on the court. You're going to have two guys that basically play the same style of play, and both are two dominant players. And James Harden, like I said, showed that he needs the ball in his hands to be effective. Not only effective, but when he has the ball in his hands, he's obviously one of the best players, and we saw that with him this year being in the MVP race. But the only way I really see this working if they run kind of like a Chris Paul, James Harden pick and roll. Like, you get James Harden pick and roll with Chris Paul. You got James Harden cutting to the rim. You can either pass it out or go inside for the layup. But other than that, I think this trade is not going to work out in the Rockets' favor unless they have a different game plan, unless they have James Harden saying that he does want to play off ball a little bit more. I just don't see this working for the Rockets. I think they got two similar player styles. They both are ball dominant. They both need the ball every time down the court, and these two want the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see if they miscommunications between these two, fighting over the ball, fighting over touches, fighting over shots. This is going to be an interesting situation over here in Houston, but a heck of a trade by the Clippers. They could have let Chris Paul walk for nothing, but they decided to go out and get a trade to get in a couple players that can really help them. Not players that are going to be there for the future. Maybe Decker, if he progresses into a pretty decent role player, or even can be a starting power forward, small forward, but really is mostly a role player. But you bring in a first-round pick, you bring Decker, you bring in Lou Williams, who showed he can score, and then the Rockets didn't give up Eric Gordon, which is a good move, but still, I think this was a terrific trade by the Clippers. Jerry West making his first big move in the Clippers organization. Obviously, Chris Paul was probably going to move on. He wants to contend for an NBA championship. He didn't really feel like that was probably going to be in Los Angeles. But I think this is a huge trade for the Clippers. They got some return for Chris Paul, their star player that was going to be leaving and was obviously going to be opting out. So tell me, guys, in the comment section what you guys think about this trade. Tell me who you guys think won this trade. And thank you guys for watching. It's been your boy TK Gamer Tommy, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.